It was the kind of spectacle you'd expect only from Donald Trump, a man who has turned grandstanding into a fine art. On a crisp morning that carried the smell of damp earth and ambition, he stood tall, well, tall enough, on the makeshift stage in the middle of a farming equipment showcase, flanked by tractors and combines as if he were announcing the next space mission. The stage, set up in true Trump fashion, was gaudy and unapologetically over the top. Gold-trimmed banners waved in the wind, and a sign behind him screamed in bold letters, "True MPVS, Massey Ferguson." But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. The tension in the air was almost cartoonishly dramatic. Farmers, journalists, and onlookers gathered in the hundreds, clutching their coffees in curiosity. It wasn't every day a real estate mogul turned reality TV star turned president launched an all-out offensive on a farming equipment manufacturer. But Trump wasn't just anyone, and this wasn't just any announcement. He launched into his speech with the kind of bravado that felt like it had been ripped straight from an action movie. "Folks," he began, leaning heavily on the podium, his signature squint surveying the crowd. "We've been losing to Massey Ferguson for years, and it's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace." He paused for dramatic effect, waiting for the murmurs of agreement to ripple through the audience. "They've been overcharging you, overcharging farmers, great people, by the way, the best people, and they're not even giving you the best equipment. That ends today." This wasn't a standard critique of corporate practices. Trump's tone suggested Massey Ferguson wasn't just a company, but a sworn enemy of progress. The sheer audacity of the statement left the crowd in a stunned silence. Even the birds seemed to stop chirping. It was classic Trump, equal parts showmanship and bulldozer diplomacy. Trump proceeded to destroy Massey Ferguson in the only way he knew how, by turning the entire narrative into a personal crusade. He lambasted their product lineup, waving his hands with exaggerated flair. "Have you seen their tractors? They're rusty, well, not literally, but bad, folks, very bad. And they're charging farmers, hard-working American farmers, like it's a luxury car." He paused for effect, his voice tipping lower. "We're talking Rolls-Royce prices for what? A wagon with wheels?" The humor, intentional or not, drew a few chuckles. But it was clear Trump wasn't joking. He continued, pivoting into a surreal pitch for an alternative. Trump-branded farming equipment. "We're going to make farming great again, folks. I'm working with the best engineers, tremendous engineers, to build something truly incredible. American-made, big, powerful, like our farmers." The statement sounded absurd, but the crowd, partly charmed, partly confused, was hooked. Trump had turned a mundane farming equipment discussion into a spectacle, and nobody could look away. What followed was a tirade that dismantled Massey Ferguson's reputation, or at least attempted to. Trump criticized their pricing, their advertising, and even their logo. "Who came up with that logo? Looks like a geometry class gone wrong," he said, jabbing at the air with his index finger. The critique was random, almost childish, but somehow it landed. By this point, it was less about Massey Ferguson and more about the sheer force of Trump's personality. Behind the humor and theatrics, though, was a deeper message. Trump's attack on Massey Ferguson wasn't just a random jab at an agricultural company. It was part of a broader narrative he had crafted, the battle of the underdog, himself, despite all evidence to the contrary, against the establishment. Massey Ferguson, a company with deep roots in farming history, became an emblem of everything Trump claimed to oppose: inefficiency, high prices, and foreign competition. He painted them as the villain in his story, a convenient foil to his grand vision of revitalizing American agriculture. But if you thought this was all bluster, think again. Trump had a knack for turning bombast into business. He announced, to no one's surprise, that his Trump Tractors line would launch within the year. "These tractors," he proclaimed, "are going to be bigger, faster, and more beautiful than anything Massey Ferguson could ever dream of, and they'll cost less, much less, because I care about farmers. I care about you." It was a promise that sounded too good to be true, and probably was, but it didn't matter. The crowd was eating it up. Even the way Trump spoke about farming seemed like it came from a man who had once skimmed the Wikipedia page for plowing, but decided he now knew everything. "Farming," he declared, "is like real estate. You need good land, good tools, and good deals. And believe me, I know deals." His confidence in equating two wildly different industries was as baffling as it was entertaining. At one point, Trump wandered off script and began reminiscing about an alleged family farm from his childhood, though fact-checkers later found no evidence of this ever existing. "I grew up around farmers, wonderful people, salt of the earth. I used to drive a tractor. Great experience. Very powerful machine. Very powerful." The crowd, half believing and half amused, let it slide. It wasn't the truth they were here for. It was a show. Trump's declaration didn't just rile up farmers and Massey Ferguson executives. Industry experts were left scratching their heads. Trump tractors? It sounded more like a punchline than a serious initiative. Yet, given Trump's track record of turning unlikely ventures into headline-grabbing successes or spectacular failures, it was impossible to predict how this would play out. Would he actually build a line of tractors, or was this just another empty promise wrapped in gold-plated theatrics? As the event drew to a close, Trump made his final flourish. "This is about winning, folks. Farmers deserve the best. America deserves the best. And Massey Ferguson? They've been ripping you off for too long. We're going to crush them, absolutely crush them." With that, he stepped back from the podium, clapping for himself as the crowd erupted in applause. It was pure spectacle, a blend of charisma, chaos, and comedy that only Trump could pull off. The implications of Trump's tirade were both immediate and far-reaching. Massey Ferguson, a company that had built its reputation on reliability and tradition, suddenly found itself cast as a villain in a bizarre narrative it hadn't signed up for. Farmers, meanwhile, were left wondering if they should hold out for these promised Trump tractors or stick with what they knew. Industry insiders speculated about whether this was a legitimate business move or just another stunt to keep Trump in the headlines. For all its absurdity, the event was undeniably effective. Trump had taken a niche topic, farming equipment, and turned it into a national conversation. Whether you loved him or hated him, you couldn't ignore him. Massey Ferguson, on the other hand, found itself scrambling to respond to an attack it never saw coming. The stage was set for what promised to be one of the most unusual battles in agricultural history. And as always, Trump had ensured that, for better or worse, the spotlight was firmly on him. As the dust settled on the field, both figuratively and literally, Trump's war against Massey Ferguson left a peculiar mix of confusion, amusement, and uncertainty. Farmers exchanged skeptical glances, wondering if Trump tractors were destined to revolutionize agriculture or become another overhyped brand that fizzled out before it began. Massey Ferguson's executives, blindsided by the attack, were likely huddled in boardrooms plotting their counterstrike, though how one counters Trump's unique brand of chaos was anyone's guess. Meanwhile, the media had a field day, pun intended. Headlines like "Trump plows through Massey Ferguson" and "Tractor Wars." The art of the deal meets the art of the plow dominated news cycles, further cementing Trump's ability to turn any subject, no matter how niche, into entertainment gold. Whether this would mark the end of Massey Ferguson's dominance or simply add another chapter to Trump's unpredictable legacy was a question for another day. For now, the spectacle stood unmatched. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.